Breaking news tonight from the world's longest undefended border, a border that, for generations, has stood as a testament to peace and cooperation between two nations. Tonight, it is no longer undefended. The familiar ease of crossing has vanished, replaced by a tense and uncertain atmosphere. Flashing lights now paint the night sky over once quiet crossings, from British Columbia to Ontario. Sirens echo in the darkness, signaling a dramatic shift in the daily rhythm of border towns. Canadian flags whip in the wind, a stark contrast to the grim-faced officers below. Their presence is a reminder of the seriousness of the moment, as they brace for what may come next. Families are separated by hours of waiting. Truckers, the lifeblood of our economies, are stuck in lines that stretch for miles. The border, once a gateway, has become a bottleneck, straining patience and livelihoods alike. This isn't just a delay, it's a sign of a deep and growing crisis threatening the North American partnership. The uncertainty is palpable, and the stakes are rising with every passing hour. The headlines scream, "Border in chaos, Trump's ultimatum rocks Ottawa." Newsrooms scramble to keep up as the story unfolds in real time, and the world takes notice. At the Ambassador Bridge, trucks carrying everything from car parts to fresh produce sit idle, costs mounting by the hour. Supply chains are disrupted, and businesses on both sides of the border brace for impact. But the economic cost is only part of the story. There is a human cost too. Every delay, every denied entry ripples through families and communities. We spoke to a woman turned back after a 6-hour wait to visit her ailing mother in Michigan. Her story is one of many, stories of missed reunions, urgent medical visits delayed, and lives put on hold. This all began with a sudden announcement from the Trump administration, new tariffs, new security protocols, and a hardline stance on trade. The shockwaves were immediate, reverberating from Washington to Ottawa. The White House says it's about protecting American jobs and security. In Canada, it feels like an economic declaration of war. Protests erupt and business leaders warn of lasting damage. Prime Minister Trudeau calls the actions unacceptable and punitive, but words do little as the border grinds to a halt. The frustration is visible on both sides as leaders search for solutions. Tonight, the border is a symbol of a relationship at a breaking point. The handshake that once defined our friendship is now replaced by suspicion and barriers. What was once a symbol of friendship is now a line of contention. The transformation is stark, and the sense of loss is profound. Canadian Border Services Agency officers conduct more rigorous inspections than ever before. Every trunk, every bag, every document is scrutinized. Drones buzz overhead, scanning the long lines of vehicles. Technology now stands guard where trust once did. Patrol boats create wakes in the dark water between the two nations. The river, once a shared resource, now feels like a dividing line. This is the new reality. A border that was once a formality is now a formidable barrier. The sense of normalcy has been shattered, replaced by anxiety and uncertainty. For millions on both sides, the question is, what happens next? Will this be a temporary standoff or the beginning of a new era of division? The world is watching as North America's closest neighbors face a crisis that could reshape their future. Allies and rivals alike are paying close attention to every development. The stakes are enormous, economically, politically, and personally. Every decision made now will echo for years, affecting trade, security, and the lives of ordinary people. The next chapter in this story is being written at the border, one checkpoint at a time. Each interaction, each decision adds to the unfolding drama. The outcome will define the relationship for years to come. Leaders on both sides face immense pressure to find a path forward. For now, a nation holds its breath and waits. The world waits with it, hoping for resolution, fearing what might come next. In response, Canada is fortifying its border, not against a military threat but economic chaos. Patrols have surged along the 525-mile frontier. More boots on the ground, more surveillance, more pressure. CBSA officers now operate advanced drones and mobile X-ray vans, scanning for anything that could violate new, confusing trade rules. Joint patrols with the RCMP are no longer friendly exercises, they're tense, urgent, and thorough. Drug sniffing and currency sniffing dogs are now standard at crossings. Ottawa is trying to prove it's a secure partner, but the extra scrutiny is slowing trade and hurting its own economy. The transformation is a shock to Canadian identity. The idea of a Fortress Canada was once unthinkable. The government insists these measures are temporary, but as weeks pass, unease grows. The new fences, patrols, and constant surveillance are changing the nation, one checkpoint at a time. Canada's open border is now a memory. The U.S. Canada relationship, once a model of stability, has been upended by a sudden policy shift. The Trump administration's sweeping 25% tariff on Canadian goods sent shockwaves through the global economy. The justification? National security, a claim that baffled Ottawa. New non-tariff barriers and inspection protocols created chaos overnight. Shipments that once crossed easily now face mountains of paperwork and 100% inspections. The message from Washington: The old rules are gone. The era of easy, predictable trade is over. Decades of integration, NAFTA, the Auto Pact, are being undone by an America First doctrine. For Canada, whose economy is deeply tied to the U.S., this is an existential threat. Political relations have soured, with public statements growing hostile and trust shattered in weeks. A partnership built over generations is now in crisis. The new tariffs have hit Canada's core industries hard, sending shockwaves through communities that have long depended on manufacturing and trade for their survival. Steel and aluminum factories in Ontario and Quebec are idling, threatening thousands of jobs and leaving entire towns anxious about their future. In Hamilton, the mood is grim. Families face losing livelihoods built over generations, with parents struggling to explain the uncertainty to their children. Canada's dairy and agriculture sectors are also targeted, with new tariffs making it nearly impossible to compete in the U.S. market, squeezing farmers who already operate on thin margins. Family farms, some 5 generations old, now face bankruptcy, forcing families to consider selling land that's been in their name for over a century. The numbers are staggering. Billions in lost exports, investment plans on hold, expansion projects canceled, and the ripple effects spreading to suppliers and local businesses. The uncertainty is poisoning the business climate, threatening recession and making it difficult for companies to plan for the future. This isn't just about numbers, it's about people. Steelworkers fearing for their homes, farmers losing their land, entrepreneurs seeing dreams shattered, and families facing choices they never imagined. The economic carnage is real, measured in lost jobs, broken dreams, and the slow erosion of once thriving communities. For many Canadians, this trade war is a personal crisis, turning everyday life into a struggle to make ends meet. The pain is felt at kitchen tables across the country. The future is uncertain and hope is hard to find as families brace for what comes next. The stakes couldn't be higher. For Canada, this is more than an economic battle. It's a test of resilience and unity in the face of adversity. Tariffs are attacks, but border slowdowns are a weapon, one that strikes at the heart of trade and prosperity. Every single day, 30,000 trucks cross the border, carrying everything from auto parts to fresh produce. For every hour those trucks are delayed, millions of dollars are lost, not just in goods but in wasted time, fuel, and opportunity. Wait times now stretch up to 12 hours, turning what should be a routine crossing into a logistical nightmare. These delays escalate daily losses into the tens of millions, compounding with each passing hour. The just-in-time auto industry is on the brink of crisis. Plants in Ontario are just hours away from forced shutdowns, threatening a domino effect that could ripple across North America's entire manufacturing sector. Agriculture suffers too. Fresh produce sits trapped in trucks, spoiling before it ever reaches store shelves. Farmers watch helplessly as entire crops are lost, their hard work and investment wasted. The Conference Board of Canada estimates that tariffs and border delays together could shave a full percentage point off the nation's GDP, over $20 billion lost in a single year. That's money that could have fueled growth, innovation, and jobs. This isn't just a theoretical problem, it's real money drained from the economy, real jobs lost, and a real decline in the standard of living for Canadian families. The border, once a symbol of prosperity and opportunity, has now become a bottleneck, stifling the flow of goods and people. The slowdown is a direct threat to Canada's future, putting businesses, workers, and communities at risk. With every passing day, the cost grows higher and the damage becomes harder to reverse. The nation's prosperity is bleeding away at the border, one delay at a time. The urgency for a solution has never been greater. The time to act is now, before the losses become permanent. Ottawa is in crisis mode, emergency meetings, new task forces, and a mix of diplomacy and defiance. Trudeau's government has announced retaliatory tariffs, but the tit-for-tat risks deepening the trade war. Efforts to speed up border processing and invest in new technology are small fixes for a massive problem. The crisis has exposed deep political rifts. Opposition parties blame the government for being too slow or too weak. Provinces demand more action and support, especially Ontario and Quebec. The blame game is creating a toxic political environment when unity is needed most. The American tariffs aren't just attacking the economy, they're straining the fabric of the Federation. National unity is fraying as regions fight for survival. The stakes are no longer just economic, they're existential. Canada faces a test of its identity and cohesion. The Trump administration's exemption of Alberta's energy sector from tariffs has split the country. Alberta celebrates relief for oil and gas, while other provinces see a cynical divide-and-conquer tactic. Quebec and Ontario feel betrayed, fueling resentment and regional tension. The exemption has reignited Western alienation, with talk of Wexit gaining traction. Alberta's premier calls for a more practical relationship with the U.S., while separatist sentiment grows. The federal government is caught, condemn the exemption and risk alienating Alberta, accept it and abandon other provinces. Trudeau urges unity, but the damage is done. The Alberta exemption has introduced a toxic element into the national debate. Canada's federation is cracking at the worst possible moment. The crisis is no longer just about trade, it's about the country's future. As the U.S. crisis unfolds, China bans all Canadian canola imports, citing dubious claims of contamination. China is Canada's largest canola market. This ban shuts down $4 billion in exports. The timing is no coincidence. China is exploiting Canada's vulnerability. Prairie farmers are devastated, prices plummet, grain elevators overflow, and financial ruin looms. The canola crisis is also a mental health crisis, with distress calls surging. Ottawa's options are limited. WTO complaints take years, and finding new markets is daunting. Financial aid is announced, but it's not enough. The crisis exposes the danger of relying on a few big trading partners. For prairie farmers, the lesson is harsh and personal. Their futures hang in the balance. Canada stands at a crossroads, its old trade certainties shattered. The U.S. relationship is now a source of risk, not stability. The urgent need to diversify trade beyond North America. The government must accelerate deals with Europe, the Pacific Rim, and emerging markets. Diversification won't be easy or quick, but it's now a necessity. For citizens, economic volatility means job insecurity and rising costs. Businesses must adapt, find new suppliers, markets, and strategies. The crisis demands collective effort and nonpartisan leadership. The coming months will test Canada's resilience and unity. The world is watching to see how Canada weathers this storm.